I'll be saying the story of the Model Millionaire. So once upon a time, there was a man whose name was Huey Erickson. Huey Erickson, he had no job, but that doesn't mean he was a loser in his life. He achieved many great things. In fact, he was a scholar in his school, and he also achieved many athletic achievements. And he was also a very charismatic person most of all. Even though he had so many achievements in his academics and also in sports, he's only known for one thing. He's only known for one thing among every woman and ever among every woman and man, and that would be his eloquent speech. His speech or his way of talking is so good that everyone used to just love him only for that. Um, he basically had a very charismatic personality, but the poor and the sad thing is that he does not have a job. So no one so barely anyone respects him for that. But whenever they listen to his charismatic voice, they just fall in love with him. His voice is so good. Um, he has been searching for job. He was searching for jobs every day since 3 years, and he didn't even find one. He was not at all he was not at all motivated, and he did not want to continue he did not want to continue searching for jobs. He only gets a small amount of income yearly, for, uh, that too from his aunt as his allowance, and he gets 200 pounds a year. That's very very less. So with the 200 pounds that he gets, he can barely live for a year. One day he decided to give a visit to, to his fellow friend to his friend who's a painter. Even he is not rich. His condition is better. His condition is better than who is condition. But even he is not that good. He is not at that good condition. And his name is Alan Walker. And Alan Walker is a very good painter. He paints marvelous things, he gets lots of money for that. Approximately $2,000, £2,000 for a painting. You may think that $2,000 is a huge £2,000 is a huge amount of money, but to complete that drawing, he takes more than 6 months. So that's the problem. Even why even he is not that rich. He's at a way better condition than Hui, but that doesn't mean he's rich. So Hui decided to give a visit to his friend Alan. So he went to Alan, and Alan was just sitting near he was just sitting near the street, and he was drawing a painting of a beggar. Um, then Hui came by and Hui came by, and then he greeted Alan, and even Alan greeted him, and both of them talked for some time. And then just then Hui noticed the beggar. At first Hui thought that the beggar was a model, but then Alan told him that he was not a model. He's just a beggar whom I asked for help. Then Alan was very then Hui became very sad, because he was work he is working for Alan, even though the beggar has no profit in that hard work. So Alan thinks that the beggar is very hardworking and needs to give him something, because Alan decided not to give him a single penny. And Hui thought that because of that, Alan was greedy and was not even willing to help a poor beggar. And then Hui, who has very little money than Alan, Hui took out a small silver coin, and that's the only thing which he has for the day. So even though he knows that the beggar needs it more than him, because he may be starving for a year or so. We don't know. So Hui took out the silver coin and gave it to the beggar. Um, when the beggar received the coin, he smiled at Hui and appreciated him. That day was completed, and the next day, Hui actually has a lover. Whom he wants to marry, and her name was Laura Merton. And Laura Martin's father was actually a retired army colonel. So he doesn't let anyone marry his daughter unless the person, unless the bridegroom is an educated and a job and a person who has a job. So even though both of them wanted to marry, it was not possible because of the father's condition. So Hui was very depressed and went to his home, and then Alan called him and said that he has something to say to Hui. So both of them both of them um, met at a restaurant, and they started their conversation. Alan told Hui that the beggar, or the person or the person to whom Hui gave one silver coin, that person was actually not a beggar. He was actually one of the richest men in the world. He was just acting as a model for Alan, and even Alan did not know that. And when both of these and when both of these and when both of this Alan and Hui knew about that, they were very shocked. And Alan, and especially Hui was very depressed when he knew this, because he thought that the person, his name was actually Hasten Bonner. Hasten Bonner, even though he was so rich, Hui was thinking in this way. Even though Hasten Bonner was so rich, he took away my silver coin from him. This is so sad. Why do these rich people do like this always? I hate them. So he told so and went to his home. He was very depressed. And then he got a knock on his door, and it was a well dressed man in a suit. And he said that he was from Hazenbourne. He was from Hazenburner. And he said that Mr. Hazenburner sent an envelope to you. Please take it. So who took the envelope and closed the door and came inside his home. He read the envelope, and he was very excited and very happy, because he could finally marry Laura, because um, um, because um, um, because Hazen Burner have has offered Hui a very big job with a very big package. It gives him over 20,000 pounds, 20,000 pounds a month, just for his eloquent speech. Hazen actually knew that Hui Erickson, he was famous all over the city for his charm for his eloquent speech. So he decided to give him a job that suits him. Um, so so just from his generosity that he showed towards Hazen, thinking that he was a beggar. Now Hui has one of the best incomes and one of the best jobs in the world. Thank you.